Hello, everybody. Welcome to No Scrubs, the only show dedicated to making sure you have no bad hires. Of course, we are here, brought to you by the great folks at checked.com. That's CHEQUED.com. And of course, sponsored by Fistful of Talent, which I'm a contributor. Also, I'm the VP of People for Daxco, a software company in Birmingham, Alabama. All right, enough about me. We got to bring the guest on. I am so excited to introduce to the Fistful of Talent and Checked.com nation, Melva Tate. You can just tell by looking at her that she's fabulous. Look at her, she's great. Melva is somebody who I've known for many years. She is located here in the Birmingham area, and she is a mover and a shaker. And by the way, I just realized, Melva, I'm throwing you a little LSU love, because check out our colors. You got the purple, I got the yellow. So come on, give me a little credit, right?
I know you did well, and actually, after I finish this video, I'm headed to Baton Rouge.
All right, very good.
So yes, got to give some Tiger love.
Okay, very good, which is hard to do in Bama Nation. So all right.
It is.
One of the things that I think that's really important that you know, Melva, too, is if you look at some of the past No Scrubs episodes, and the people out there will tell you, I'm looking pretty rough. I mean, it's like I was recording them at 8 in the morning. I have all my hairs like this. Because you're so fabulous, I had to up my game. I had to freshen up a little bit. Okay, very good. Melva, introduce yourself to the world. Everybody needs to know you.
Thank you, Dawn, and thank you for this opportunity. I am Melva Tate, the principal of Tate Associates. We're a leadership consulting and coaching firm. So what we specialize in is in human resource management and career development. So in addition to being a business owner, I'm also a motivational speaker, a radio co-host, and a serious fashionista, as you just mentioned. So you had to up your game for this chick.
I did.
But literally, I have been in the world and the arena of human resources for about 25 years. I am truly passionate about what I do. I've had other opportunities to do some other great things, but I truly know that I am serving my purpose on earth in the role of serving people through human resources, workforce, and career development.
Okay, well, that's a great piggyback into our topic today. But before we talk about purpose and recruiting and innovation and all these other kind of things, I do have to let everybody know, though, you need to friend Melva. But here's the deal. If you watch Scandal, she is the worst spoiler giver of Scandal. I have to cut it off when Scandal's watching, because girl, you're a spoiler.
I know, and I want to publicly apologize. Use this platform to apologize to all of my Facebook friends. I no longer do that.
Okay. Good.
Yes.
All right.
And literally, I'm a Game of Thrones fan too, and someone spoiled it for me yesterday.
Oh, that's
so
terrible.
I know how it feels. So I no longer do that. You no longer have to block me when Scandal is on.
Okay, very good.
And I apologize.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We forgive you. All right. Okay, so we're going to talk today. The post that Checked.com sponsored, it ran last week on Fistful of Talent. It's called Better Recruiters Channel Their Inner Chimpanzees. All right, catchy title, I know. And actually, it was inspired by a gentleman named Dan Pallotta. I got to spell that for you, Pallotta. I saw him keynote at the Higher View Users Conference. Okay. So I'm not going to give you a whole lot. You'll understand the chimpanzee, all the people out there. You'll understand that title once you read the post. But here's ultimately what it talks about. It talks about the my post talks about the overcomplification. Is that a word? How we overcomplicate the recruiting process.
Right.
And I overcomplicate things, as you can see by how I tried to pronounce overcomplicate.
Yes.
All right. Melva, you've been in the HR game for a long time, so I got to ask you, do you think, and you might not think this, do you think that HR pros, and specific recruiting pros, do you think they overcomplicate things?
So the quick answer is yes. But before I dive into that, let me tell you, thank you so much for sharing Dan's YouTube TEDx talk with me. He is absolutely fabulous. And so although his arena is in nonprofits, which is really about 60% of my client base. So it really made sense, a lot of what he was talking about, in addition to serving on a number of boards and leadership roles. I was so glad, and it was so refreshing to hear someone put it so eloquently about how we, we lose sight of the purpose. So we got to get back to the purpose. So to answer your question, yes, I do think that we as HR professionals, we as recruiters, oversimplify the process. And the reason why, I think it just goes back to how we were raised in the world of HR. So we're raised to have a lot of policies and processes and procedures. Look, that's the only way things work in organizations, right? So how dare we not have a complicated process in how we do things, and how dare we allow someone to go outside of those parameters that we've set up to make sure things are getting done.
Yep.
So yeah, I would say we definitely oversimplify what could be a very simple process in finding talent for organizations.
Okay. Yeah. And I think you meant overcomplicate, but that's okay. I got your back.
Am I saying oversimplify?
Yeah, that's
Probably
okay.
because you got me all screwed up on that word. Overcomplicate.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And listen, I got your back. That's what I'm here for. Well, and I do agree with you. I don't think it's intentional. I think most HR pros, I think, again, if we talk about the evolution of HR over the last couple of decades, again, it came from not just recruiting, but really everything. There's always this compliance piece to it.
Exactly.
And you think you have to stay within a process, which is not a bad thing, but within a process to, A, hire the right person. Let's just remember, most people are trying to do that, but also B, make sure you're doing it in a uber safe way.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, something that probably shouldn't be as overthought as it is, it becomes complicated. So, all right. Yes. So you had talked about purpose. You talked about your purpose in being in HR and consulting capacities. So part of the blog talked about, and Dan always says, whatever you do, you always got to get back to the purpose. So what do you think HR pros do? You think that they forget the purpose in the recruiting? You think the process comes before purpose? Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so again, and having an opportunity to work with nonprofits, we constantly remind the employees or staff that are working in different and unique jobs to fulfill the mission. Never lose focus of the mission. Why are we here? What is the purpose of why we're here? And does it make sense what we're trying to do, whether that's institute a new policy or change programming parameters? Does it make sense for the mission? Is it going to advance the mission? Is it going to serve the mission? So back to the mission, which in essence is the purpose.
Yeah.
So I remember listening to Dave Ulrich, and this had to be probably about 6-8 years ago, and he talked about HR professionals getting out of the HR silo and thinking of the business bottom line and the business objectives and not just HR. And that was my first thought process when we talk about overcomplicating things, is to make sure that we look at the big picture. So again, I do think we have just been trained to go through policies, procedures, processes, have some structure in what we do. But we get so rigid and stuck on those processes and structure that we do miss the big picture. Now, I would dare not say, because I have a lot of clients who are defense contractors,
who are
mandated to go through a very rigid recruiting and selection process. Some of them, unfortunately, have conciliation agreements from the OFCCP that they have to follow. But then those who don't, and even those who do, can find some creative ways to get that talent into their organization without being too rigid or letting it get in the way.
Yes.
I think you could still find the talent, but oftentimes we make the process longer, and we lose sight of those who don't fit those specific parameters.
Those parameters. Or people have process for process sake. Would you say, Melva, that when you come from the HR pro standpoint or the recruiter that's guiding your folks through it, when we talk about purpose, there is purpose for the company, but would you also say it's important for the hiring managers and the recruiters to also have their own personal purpose as far as to help with the overarching, dare I say, decision making?
You're absolutely right, and that was one of the points that I highlighted from your article. So I didn't know if you were going to ask me any questions about your delightful article, but it certainly was. It was dead on, and actually, I number your number 6 tip as my number 1,
Okay.
which is let the hiring managers do the heavy lifting.
Mm-hmm.
I love that statement. Oftentimes we as HR professionals get so caught up as if we own, we're the ones who hired all this talent for the organization, forgetting that these individuals work for the managers that they are assigned to get the work done within that department to complete the mission of the organization. So let them do the heavy lifting, let them be involved in the process, and let them have that ownership. I've seen so many times over and over again when the managers are not heavily involved in the process that they will immediately say, well, this is all HR gave me, or this is all I had to select from, or HR, they gave me 2 people, I hired the best of the 2 that they gave me.
Right.
It's always a they versus this was my decision, this was my hire, I own it. Particularly if it was a bad hire, I own it and I've learned from it, and this is where I want to go from this point on. So you're absolutely right about having them heavily involved in the process.
Very good. And listen, just to round this out, Melva, any other thoughts, any other ideas to help simplify the process?
That's right. And not let it be overcomplicated. One of the other ones that I've enjoyed you saying was let the candidate tell the story in the process. Stop talking so much because we are so rigid in that process, making it overcomplicated that we've got these 10 questions that we have to ask. And we can't let the interview be done unless we ask these 10 questions. But I only got 30 minutes to do it. Right. So we spend all of that time not necessarily listening, but trying to get through the process. So I love the fact of letting the candidate tell their story. If you let them talk, you will eventually find that, wow, this candidate is sharper than I thought they were. They present better than they do on paper. Or you can say, I'm going to let them talk for one more minute and they're going to talk themselves out of this position. So just, yes. They're not going to be one that can complete our mission, or that are here for the purpose of the organization and what we're trying to do. It's all about them and all about their baggage that they're bringing to the table. Yep. So I love that. Let them tell their story. It may be a horror story, or it may be an amazing futuristic story that the company can build on. Very good. It's amazing what people will tell you if you just be quiet, zip it, and listen. That's right. And I'd be remiss, I do have to say, of course, Check.com sponsors this, but they don't edit what I'm saying. But one of the things you also can do to help simplify processes, please buy some technology. Check has great tools. If you use technology to help you control the process a little more, let them handle the process with tech so you can listen more. Whether it's a Check.com or several other platforms as well. Very good. All right, guys. Melva, thank you so much for being here. Thank you. And I love the fact that you said use technology. I will say this is not a put down to SHRM, but I just Googled creative ways to recruit. And there's an article on the SHRM website from 1999 with 15 creative ways to recruit. Oh, wow. So oh, wow. So you've got to think that if SHRM has an article out there from 1999, correct, and it's about creative ways to recruit, we're missing the mark. So that's another way to say that we're so rigid in how we try to do things. We overcomplicate things. And we're using old methods, and we need to be more creative. So technology is certainly one of those. All right. We're going to end it on that note. Melva, thank you so much. Y'all, hook up with Melva. Melva, what's your Twitter handle? The Career Coach. And they can also find me on Facebook at The Career Coach. And, of course, it's just Melva at melvatate.com. So Melva at melvatate.com or melvatate.com. I love to connect. Oh, my gosh. That is so simple to remember. It is. Not overcomplicated. All right. This is No Scrubs, brought to you by Checked.com and Fistful of Talent. This is Dawn Burke saying happy hiring.